In the 20th century, the world became like a chessboard, with so many conflicts that happened over Europe and Asia. One of the first conflicts that happened in that century was the Russo-Japanese War. The Russo-Japanese War was a conflict between the Japanese Empire and the Russian Empire. Both of these countries were seeking to gain power and territory in China, Manchuria, and Korea. This war can be called World War Zero because it was prior to World War I. We can say it had some influence on World War I and had also a lot of hidden alliances and treaties like the World Wars. This war had a prior background, but it officially began in 1904 and ended up in 1905. Motives from each country and what happened between them. Before the war, Japan longed for modernization and expansion of their power. And to do so, they looked for territories to get resources and materials to exploit and move on faster with their modernization. And since Japan saw Korea as a lower country, they decided to conquer and have some of those lands for their own. They also saw Manchuria for their resources like coal, iron, and oil. On the other hand, Russia wanted to gain a warm water port over the Pacific Ocean for trading and for their base fleet, since most of their ports are over the Atlantic Ocean, and wanted to avoid them because of the extreme weather. Also, Russia wanted to connect their Trans-Siberian Railroad, one of their major projects, to this warm water port, which will eventually be in China, Port Arthur. Both of these countries wanted to expand through the same territories, Manchuria and Korea. Japan had some rivalry with China since they were both trying to see who was going to have their influence over Korea. But after Japan won in the First Sino-Japanese War in 1894, they claimed territories like the Liaodong Peninsula, Korea, and Taiwan. Yet, some countries forced Japan to give away the Liaodong Peninsula. Russia, after making their Trans-Siberian Railroad, they seek for the warm water port. So, in 1897, as they moved their troops over to some of the territories Japan had control on, China gave the Port Arthur to Russia and made an alliance. Then, they connected the warm water port to the Trans-Siberian Railroad. Russia and Japan were trying to negotiate as much as possible to not go to war. Yet, it seemed that they both failed doing so. The negotiation was that Russia can colonize and control Manchuria, and Japan could stay with Northern Korea. But Russia declined because Japan made the Anglo-Japanese alliance with Britain just for backup in favor of Japan. Meanwhile, Britain was seeking to keep Russia out of the Pacific and wanted Japan's help to do so. Russia didn't want to go into war with Britain since it was one of the strongest countries in Europe. So they kept negotiating with Japan for several years until in 1904, Japan declared war after 3 hours later of hitting one of the Russians' ships that was directed to the Port Arthur. Even if Russia had more resources and military than Japan, Japan held their ground and battled fiercely against the Russians. In some simple and not many words, Japan ended up winning and they signed the Treaty of Portsmouth in 1905, ending the war. The treaty stated that Russia will leave those territories and recognize Japan had now influence on Korea. Consequences suffered by the colonized countries, China and Korea. Korea and Manchuria suffered several consequences after the Russo-Japanese War. For example, economically, both countries were exploited by Japan for their resources, including minerals like oil, iron, and oil, and agricultural products. This helped strengthen their industrial growth and help people in their own land. Socially and culturally, they were influenced by Japan. Japan intended to impose their culture of language, traditions to the territories, but made a cultural displacement within the countries. Overall, thanks to the war, Korea and Manchuria were weakened and unstable, with the resources exploitation and the Japanese influence on both of them. And to conclude and wrap it up, understanding the past and what has happened in the country becomes information for interpreting the present and forming the future. This idea doesn't just apply for shaping and interpreting the future of the country, but also helps informing the identity and people. History can show how people have done things through time, how people have resolved conflicts, how they've grown socially, economically, culturally, and it also can show how we can change things, how simple actions can actually change the world. Knowing what we've been through and what we've experienced can help help us know how to shape our future in a more peaceful way, one that doesn't involve wars and conflicts, not disputes